Western New York hit by the strongest earthquake in 40 years. Sound didn't do it much justice, but it registered as this: a 3.8 magnitude quake rattling the Buffalo area. This was yesterday morning. A local official saying it felt like a car hit his house, but here's the good news: no reports of widespread damage there.
Well, taking now to our nation's capital, a live look here at the White House. President Biden set to deliver his State of the Union address tonight before Congress at 9 Eastern.
Yeah, it's a big day for the commander-in-chief as he prepares to sell the country on what he would call the many successes of his administration. Americans at home still grappling with a lot, with record-high inflation, rising crime, the border crisis. So you may not see the same rosy picture the president will likely try or attempt to paint tonight. We'll talk about that with Markwayne Mullin, Republican senator from Oklahoma. Good to see you, Senator. Thanks so much for coming on. Before we get to the specifics, and there are a lot, there's a new poll that came out today by ABC News Washington Post that says that 40% of Americans are in financially worse off situations than they were a couple years back. Amongst other issues that Americans are facing, what will this president say tonight? Will he be able to unite the country?
Well, Sean, I don't know how he can do that. Listen, even the Democrats don't want him. If you look at the recent poll, under 40% of the Democrats there are saying that they would like him to run. That means over 60% says they don't. And here he goes out. He doesn't take any responsibility for the inflation crisis. He says it was already here beforehand, but yet he lies because it was at 1.4% before he came into office. It's at 13.5%. And all you have to do is look at his energy policy to understand why that's happening. He's cut oil production by over 2 million barrels per day. He's cut natural gas production by over 20 billion cubic feet per day. Just think about that. And he says that he doesn't take any responsibility, but energy follows inflation. High energy and unreliable energy follows inflation and an unstable economy. And so I don't think he can say anything that's truthful tonight if he's going to be talking about the economy, unless he says, hey, we're apologizing, we got it wrong. The next 2 years, we're going to do it better.
What about, Senator, matters of national security? Does he bring up the suspected Chinese surveillance balloon?
You know, Emma, I think he will probably come out and say he gave the order to shut it down. He'll try to come out and be a strong commander-in-chief, but for 8 days it floated across the United States. It showed great weakness. And as Reagan said, peace through strength. Biden doesn't show peace through strength. It was an absolute joke. And my theory is on this, Emma, is they weren't just simply looking at our missile sites. They were looking at our infrastructure, especially when it comes to pipelines that are being delivered from Alaska all the way down to Houston to the East Coast. I believe China understands that if they were to go to war with us, that they would have to disrupt our oil and gas supply system, because that's one thing that they don't have an abundance of, which we do. But because of the Biden administration and their vulnerabilities to allow them to float the balloon, literally float a balloon across the United States without being checked, shows a great weakness in our leadership.
You know, the other thing he has to do, too, is consider who's in the room, right? He's obviously talking to the American public, millions and millions of people that will be tuning in. But who's going to be there in the chamber to listen, to get the applause, right, to get the cheers going? What does he say to that? Does he talk about how diverse his administration is? Does he bring things like that up? What can he say to unite Democrats listening that are there in attendance, and perhaps maybe some Republicans?
Well, so say he brings up diversity that he has in his cabinet. Well, look at his cabinet. He has the weakest cabinet I think we've had, even weaker than Jimmy Carter's cabinet. He didn't hire the best people. He hired based on diversity. And I think everybody in that room knows that. So even if he brings it up, he's not going to get a clap from me on that. I don't necessarily need diversity. I just want you to hire the best person. If the best person is a minority, great, bring them in. But we need the best people running the United States of America, not just based on something that you identify as. When you start talking about bringing cheers, I believe the Democrats are going to cheer every time he says hello. but I don't think he can actually brag about what he's done for our country. No one can say that. I mean, you have 20 million Americans right now that are behind on their energy bills. 6 and 1, every 1 out of every 6, Americans are right now behind on their energy bills because they can't afford it. When you have 13.5% inflation, what are you going to be bragging about? How can you talk about your strong national security defense? You can't talk about the border when you have 4.3 million known crossings that's been released illegally, that's been released inside the United States. You have 1.2 million that we know that got away. So you're at 5.5 million people that have come inside the United States illegally just since this administration has been put in. And put the numbers to this, Sean and Emma, that's more than the population of 24 states. And that's just mind-blowing, mind-blowing. Right. So how's he going to talk about that? What is he going to brag about? He just needs to say, we're going to go back to Trump-era policies is what he needs to say.
Well, we will likely hear that sentiment from the Republican response, which will be presented by Governor Sarah Sanders of Arkansas.
Right.
So, of course, stay with Newsmax for complete coverage tonight, and we hope our viewers do. But, Senator, for some folks who might have DirecTV, they won't be able to watch Newsmax coverage of tonight's address and throughout all of our programming. It's been canceled in 13 million homes. I know a number of your colleagues have come to the defense of Newsmax. Your thoughts on the decision?
We had DirecTV too. I'll tell you, we canceled it. This shows the left media trying to censor conservative talk. When you have Newsmax, which is the #4 rated news program out there in the country, that gets canceled, and they bring in a lesser, a conservative talk, great. They've tried to bring in conservative talk that has much lower ratings. They leave other programs on that have much less ratings on there, and they say that they're doing it over a contract dispute. Well, I've had privilege to understand what the contract is. There is no contract dispute here. All it is trying to silence the conservative movement from these woke executives that are at AT&T and DirecTV.
We'll leave it right there. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, we appreciate your time. Busy day for you. Senator, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on.